If you need help practicing math questions with the HP10 BII Financial Calculator for your UBC Real Estate Licensing exam, then you've come to the right place. This video is one of 8 videos that we'll be uploading for free to ensure you build a strong foundation for the math portion of your UBC Real Estate exam prep. Now, all the videos that we'll be uploading to this playlist are from our Real Estate Licensing tutorial course over at excelrealtyacademy.com. So if you find this video helpful, but want a more personalized experience in your journey to becoming a real estate agent in BC, we put a link in the description of this video so you can compare the 3 programs that we offer, which have helped thousands of people go from overwhelmed to fully licensed real estate agents. Now, without further ado, here is the HP10 BII Financial Calculator Practice Questions lesson. Enjoy. Hello and welcome back to Chapter 13 and 14. In this video, we are going to cover Part 5, and we will continue to discuss the HP10 BII calculator and its calculations. But before we jump into it, let's cover our disclaimers. This presentation is copyrighted by Excel Realty Academy. It is to be used only by the students who are currently enrolled in our program. You agree to not record, copy, share this presentation in part or whole, and the content of this tutorial course does not constitute any legal or professional advice. Now let's get into it. All right, so we're going to use the concepts we learned with the calculator to solve questions. To start, we recommend writing down all the key variables to help visualize what we are solving for. First, we write down PYR. Then, we write down all of the white functions from the top bar of the calculator. This will make the question easy. Now, what are the functions? Starting with Shift PYR. Shift PYR tells the calculator the number of times the nominal rate is being divided, or in other words, compounded per year. Remember, we learned that we only use a nominal rate to solve questions which will have a compounding period. For example, if the nominal rate is 8% compounding semi-annually, we write down J2 next to the Shift PYR. And it does not have a J, it's just for us to remember the rule number 1. So that's why we write down J on our paper. And for the calculator, we press the number 2. Then press the orange Shift key. Then press the PYR key. By doing this, we just saved the number 2 to PYR. Now, what about the N button, the very first white function? Well, N is for time. The value of N can be found one of 2 ways. N can be the total number of payment periods, or the total number of compounding periods. Total number of payments is the number of years in the loan times the number of payments per year. If there are no payments in the loan, like an interest accruing loan, N will be the number of compounding periods. To find the value of the total compounding period, we take the PYR number and multiply it by the number of years. So if we have a 25-year J1 loan, we set PYR to 1. Then we take that 1 and multiply it by 25. This gives us 25 interest compounding periods during the loan, and we set n to 25. So if we have a 25-year J1 loan that has yearly payments, we set PYR to 1. And since it has yearly payments, we multiply 1 by 25. One payment per year for 25 years. This gives us 25 total payments during the loan, and we set n to 25. Now, if a 25-year loan has a rate of 8% J2 and there are no payments in the loan, we must set n to the total number of compounding periods. So we set PYR to 2, then we drop the 2 and multiply it by 25 years, which gives us 50. So then we press 50 on the calculator, and then we press n. So n can be two things. It's either the total number of the payments or the total number of interest compounding periods. Now next is the IYR button. IYR stands for interest per year. And remember, we have to use a nominal rate. To enter the nominal rate into the calculator, we type the rate and then press the IYR key. Do not press the percentage key. So if the nominal rate is 8% J4, we just press 8, then press the IYR button. Next is the PV button. PV stands for present value. Present value is the beginning dollar amount of the loan. PV could be how much money was borrowed, how much money was lent, or how much money is invested. Every question is unique, but the PV is always the lump sum at the beginning. The fourth white function is the PMT button, which stands for payment. PMT is the cash value of each payment. This could be the dollar value paid towards the mortgage every month or the quarterly cash flow from an investment. So, the PMT is the ongoing dollar amount. Now, the last white function is the FV, and it stands for future value. FV is what is owed at the end of the loan. Looking at all these variables and buttons, these are what we're going to use to solve questions. PV, PMT, and FV are dollar amounts. PV and FV are one-time things, and PMT is an ongoing thing. Shift PYR and IYR are related to the interest rate. IYR is the rate itself, and Shift PYR is how many times the rate is being compounded. And N is a time-related function. It can be the total number of payment periods or the total number of compounding periods. Quick pause before we get into example 1. If you want to do more practice questions just like this one, we have curated a bunch of practice questions and additional study material over in our courses at excelrealtyacademy.com. Now back to the video. Now it's time for our first example question, and this will help us put it all together. So pause the video and read the question. All right, so try highlighting and identifying the variables from the last slide. So the question reads, Annie wants to invest $8,000 at an interest rate of 10% per annum, compounded annually. And she thinks in 5 years, she will have at least $12,800. So we have to see if $8,000 growing at 10% per year for 5 years is higher or lower than $12,800. Now, when we do a math question, we write down the 6 functions: PYR, then N, IYR, PV, PMT, and FV. Now we can start filling in these 6 functions to see what we have. So PYR will be 1, and this is coming from the 10% J1, because the 10% rate is per annum, compounded annually. N will be compounding periods, as there are no payments. Compounding periods, 1 per year, times the total number of years, 5 years, will give us a value of 5. IYR is the rate, which is 10. Remember, we don't put a percentage sign in the calculator. The PV is the beginning amount, which is $8,000. Annie is not making or receiving any payments, so PMT is 0, and here you have to use your common sense and see that there is no cash flow in the question. Now the FV is blank. We need to solve for the future value to see how much this $8,000 will grow by the end of the 5 years. Now we enter all the values into the calculator. As we are entering the numbers into the calculator, we make sure that we are pressing the right buttons and saving them to the right keys. To enter the numbers into the keys, first type the number and next the function where you have to save it. And in between entering the numbers, there is nothing else to do. Just type the next number, then the next function, then the next number and next function, until all 5 numbers are saved in the calculator. So since it's our first question, I'll walk you through it. For PYR, press the number 1, then Shift, then PYR. For N, press the number 5, then press N. For IYR, type in 10, then press IYR. For PV, type in 8,000, then press PV. And for PMT, type in 0 and press PMT. Once all the numbers are entered, we press the FV button, and the display will show $12,884.08. So 5 years later, Annie will have $12,884.08. So Annie will indeed have at least $12,800. What if the next question is the exact same, but this time it says Annie invested $9,000? Well, on the calculator, the numbers we put in the functions stay in there, unless we replace them or press the See All key. In this question, there is only one variable that is different. To answer the question, we change PV to 9,000. So we type 9,000 and press PV, which will save the 9,000 value in the PV key. Then we press the FV, and now we have $14,494.59. It's the same steps to answer this question if the PV was $50,000 instead. Now, if we forgot the values that we stored in the buttons, we can check them using the RCL key. Remember, RCL stands for recall, and it is on the fourth row above the number 7. To check, we press the RCL key, then press the button we want to see. If we do RCL, Shift, and PYR, we will see the number 1. If you are using the app, you don't need to use the recall because you will already see the saved numbers. Now, did you notice that the FV values were negative? Well, the FV and the PMT will show negative numbers or it'll show 0. To visualize this, imagine that Fiona got a $1 million loan. At the very beginning, she will gain $1 million. But every month, she will have to make payments. And at the end, she will also have to make a payment to close out the mortgage. So the money in, the lump sum at the beginning, is positive. The money paid back, like the payments and the FV, are money going out. It's the opposite. So they are negative. To solve questions on the calculator, we have to make sure that we enter the FV and PMT as negative numbers. If we see no solution on the display, that means you didn't enter a negative sign somewhere important. Also, for all dollar amounts, the PMT, FV, and the PV, always round them up to the next higher cent. So if it's $10.001, we would round that to $10.01. So this brings us to our second golden rule. And it is that we must enter 5 numbers to find the sixth. If we do not enter 5 numbers, we cannot find the sixth. At the beginning of each question, we will write out the 6 variables. Then, we will fill in 5 of them to find the 6th one that is needed to answer the question. In almost every question, the 5th will be hidden in the wording of the question. Now, let's look at the next example question. It says, Johnny wants to buy a car in 3 years, which will cost $18,000. How much must he invest now if the interest rate is 5% J2? We will list the PYR, N, IYR, PV, PMT, and FV. So now start filling them in on a piece of paper. So the rate is 5% J2. So PYR is 2. And we know this because the rate is compounded semi-annually, twice a year. N is going to be the life of the loan. So 3 years times the number of payments each year. But Since we don't have payments, it will be times the interest compounding periods per year, which we just said is 2. IYR is 5. There are no payments made or received, so PMT is 0. And FV is $18,000, which we will enter as a negative number. So we have 5 variables and are missing the PV. To enter the numbers into the keys, first type the number and next press the function where you have to save it. And again, in between entering the numbers, there is nothing else to do. Just type in the next number and then press the next function, and the next number and the next function, and so on until all 5 numbers are saved in. Now, when typing in the 18,000 for the FV, make sure you type in 18,000, then press the plus minus key on the left side of the calculator, then press FV. We do this to make sure the FV is entered as a negative number. So after entering the 5 variables into the calculator, we press the PV button, and we get $15,521.35. You'll notice we rounded up the number to the next higher cent. Now that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. If you like this video, you'll love the next one in our playlist. And if you want to take your UBC real estate exam prep to the next level, make sure to click the link in the description and check out our programs. Bye for now.